So you watched Kirara's basics, and now you're wondering what to do for her like mid to late game. So that is what we're going to look at in this video, is going to be Kirara's mid to late game build, her artifact grinding hell video. So real quick, we are actually going to look at the Kirara that we're using. It is not the same that we used in her basics. We're actually going to start with a different build. This team is Tighnari, Kirara, Beidou, and Fischl. This is a pure spread aggravate team with Tighnari being our on-field damage dealer. With that, Kirara is going to be doing something very specific. She's going to be using an artifact set that really works whenever you unlock her C4, her Constellation 4. So real quick, Tighnari is level 40 out of 50. Kirara is level 50 out of 50. Beidou and Fischl are both 80 out of 80, but they're not like fully built. So this team's not going to be doing a ton of damage right now because I literally just threw this together for this video, and that's it, right? So go easy with me on the damage remarks. Now let's look at this Kirara. Level 50 out of 50, 12,000 HP, 730 attack, and then EM 115. Her split, 19/78 with 134.4 ER. Weapons, she is running a Sapwood Blade. And for artifacts, she's running a 4-piece Deepwoods. Now, specifically this Kirara build, right, works with her because she is C4, because she has her 4th constellation. The 2-piece set increases damage, Dendro damage bonus, which is great. The 2-piece, oh, geez. So if we look at her C4 says that after an active character protected by her shield does a normal charge or plunging attack, it will do a coordinated attack that is Dendro that counts as her burst damage. And because it specifically says it counts as burst damage, it activates the 4-piece effect of Deepwoods. And if we look at that 4-piece effect, it is going to, after elemental skill or burst hits an opponent, their Dendro resistance will decrease, meaning that Tighnari can do more damage. So this is a great way to get the allow Tighnari to run a different set. In this case, it's Wander's Troop. It allows him to run a different set that might increase his personal damage, but still get the resistant shred from Deepwoods. If you don't have Kirara C4, it will not work as effectively. So anytime that we have Kirara's shield on our character, we can just get the Deepwoods shred, right? That is, we need to make sure that we are doing our normal and our charge attacks to get the coordinated attack, so that way we can get the Deepwoods shred, which is very, very important for this team. And of course, we have C6 Fischl and C6 Beidou, so we're going to have aggravates going everywhere. The enemy is always going to have aggravates or spread reactions hitting them. So now we are going to look at a more standard Kirara build, right? That one only works if she's C4 or higher. This one is going to be a much more standard, where we're focusing on her shield and how well it can protect our on-field characters. So for that, we are going to swap her over to 2-piece VG, 2-piece Tenacity. Now, this is an actual team that I plan on running whenever I finish building all of the characters. So these are going to be the artifacts that you would want to use in this team. So let's look at them and talk about main stats and substats. So for the flower, attack percent, crit damage, defense, crit rate. If we had HP percent in here, it'd be even better. For the plume, man, if we had HP in here instead of like defense percent, it would be much better. We were okay with attack percent because of how that C4 damage is calculated, that Constellation 4 damage is calculated, and it would increase her damage, maybe EM over attack, depending. But HP percent, crit rate, crit damage, ER, we're not necessarily worried about ER as much because we're not going to bring her on the field and use her burst. We're mainly going to be using her for her shield and that Constellation 4. So having HP percent to make sure that her shield stays stronger, and then crit rate, crit damage, attack, EM. Those are going to be, I think, the main 5 substats that you're going to want. Now on the plume, attack percent, HP percent, crit damage, EM. This one I'm going to say is okay. I hope it rolls more into HP percent than anything else, just to increase her shield. Then of course we are going to be running HP on all of the main stats for the Sands, Goblet, and Circlet. The Goblet, the Sands is attack, EM, crit rate, crit damage, right? That attack, if that had been attack percent, this would be probably perfect for substats. The Goblet doesn't really matter too much on substats here. Defense percent, flat defense, HP. It's just mainly that HP main stat that we're super, super worried about getting. And then on the circlet, ER, which is going to be good, flat HP, which is going to be good, crit rate. I really hope that for the last one, you get crit damage or EM or attack, right? I would be fine with any of those because it's going to increase her personal damage just a little tiny bit. For weapons, I was using Sapwood Blade just so that way I could get the leaf that we could give EM to Beto, Tighnari, Fischl, anybody other than Kirara. But if you have something, but whenever I actually go to use this team, I will be, of course, using Dokkan's Assistant. I'm not going to be taking it from Layla. I do have a second Dokkan's Assistant. If you do not have a Dokkan's Assistant, then you can use something like Sapwood. You can use like Iron Sting. You can use Sacrificial, kind of, in case the shield breaks. You can just up it again. You do have some other options here. If you wanted to increase the damage that her passive does, that C4 passive, right, then you could throw the Inazuma Craftable Weapon on her just to get her attack percent up, because that's what it calculates. That's the stat that it calculates that extra damage. So you do have a couple different options if you don't have something like Dokkan's Assistant, but Dokkan's Assistant is going to be the best, or like Key is going to be the best for Kirara in this particular team, because we still want a strong shield to protect Tighnari. So a more standard Kirara build is going to be like 2-piece VG, 2-piece tenacity with Dokkan's Assistant on her, so that we can get her HP as high as possible, so that way she is shielding as good as possible. This is going to be a pure shield build. Again, you can use something like Sack Sword to get the refresh on the skill if you don't have Dokkan's Assistant. You can use Iron Sting. You can use all of the same weapons that we talked about before in this instance if you don't have Key or you don't have Dokkan's Assistant. Now, in this team that you're going to see running, I'm just going to run in with the same exact team, and it is going to, you're going to notice that Tighnari is going to be doing a little bit less damage because we're not getting the Deep Woods Shred, but her shield is not going to break as often, or maybe at all, just because we have more HP, right? Once we get the artifacts leveled on the Deep Woods set, then it's going to be very, very similar to this, but right now we are just trying to show the different artifact sets, the increase in HP, things like that. Also, in this one that's running right now, I remembered how to play Tighnari, right? So it goes a little bit faster regardless, which is kind of funny because in the first couple, I did not remember how to play Tighnari at all. Now we're going to talk about a fun little niche Kirara build. Oh, no. So another way that you can use Kirara in this kind of shield, right? If you're like, man, I don't have Layla, I don't have Zhongli, I don't have a good shielder. Kirara can actually work in a lot of different teams. One of which that we can work in is going to be like a melt team, where we're going to be doing a reverse melt, right? Where you could do this with maybe like Ayaka or Risley or Zarya being our stand-in, where you can cause burning on an enemy and then do reverse melts. Kirara's shield is going to protect you. Kirara's going to be applying some Dendro, so that way you can melt it then with like Benny, or burn it with like Benny, so that way you can cause multiple melt reactions. There is a way to use her outside of standard Dendro teams, but she does do really, really well in standard Dendro teams. Now, the next team that we're going to look at is going to be a very niche, fun Kirara team. And I say niche, fun Kirara team because if Kirara was real and if she had the same personality that she had in the game, then she would 100% want to run a team like this just because it's freaking hilarious. And that is going to be Xingqiu, Kirara, Kuki, and then like Barbara, right? An all 4-star team where we're going to be using Hyperbloom, Kuki with Xingqiu and Barbara. And you're going to see how that's going to work. The artifact set for this would, depending on what you have on your Kuki, like my Kuki has a 4-piece Deepwood set. So depending on what artifacts you have on your other characters would determine what you would want to do on Kirara here. You could do the HP, or you could do something like Deep Woods to allow Kuki to get a little bit more EM. But basically what we're going to do is that we're going to use Xingqiu, we're going to use Barbara, and we're going to have the Hydro circling us. And then we're going to use Kuki to get the Electric Pulse, and then we're just going to go into the Catbox Terror of Doom, and we're just going to run around, and we are going to constantly be putting Dendro onto the enemies, so that way they create blooms with the off-field Hydra just spinning around her, and then Kuki's skill is just going to trigger the blooms. You can do something kind of similar with Yao Yao, not Yao Yao. You can do something kind of similar with like Sayu, where you pick up Electro with Sayu, or you can use Kuki as well, and you can just kind of go around in a circle and you just do the same thing, right? You would have to use Nikita instead of Kirara for that. But this is a very interesting, fun little team that would be hilarious to see done at a high level. And I might try and do that one day because that's freaking funny. Now, for the final team that we're going to look at, of course, it's going to be Nilou Bountiful Core, because in Nilou we trust, right? Don't come after me for saying that. Now, instead of, if we were to take out Yao Yao, right? My current Nilou team is Nilou, Nihida, Yao Yao, and Coco. If we take out Yao Yao and we put in Kirara, doing a full EM build with Yao Yao's artifacts and Iron Sting, then we can allow Kirara to cause some bountiful cores. The shield is going to help protect some. Obviously, her shield is going to be weaker because we haven't invested in it. We would want HP in the substats and ER in the substats for this one, and then, of course, EM on the flower and the plume. But this would allow her to be an on-field Dendro driver. I use Coco as my on-field Hydro driver, and then sometimes going to Nihida as well. But this would allow for Kirara to be an on-field Dendro driver. Now, with this build, she does have 959 EM, 123 ER. Like I said, she does have my Yao Yao set, so 2-piece Gilded, 2-piece Wonders Troop, and for weapon, a level 90 R5 Iron Sting. Now, she is only level 50, so she's not going to be doing the 40k, 43k blooms that my Nihida and my Coco are doing. She's going to be doing in the 30k after Nihida has used her skill to get Deep Woods. And you'll be able to see that we are going to be using Nilou's Aura. We are going to be using Nihida's Burst to also share some EM to get it up even higher. And then we're going to drop Coco's skill and take Coco off the field, and then use Kirara to just run around to enemies, triggering the bountiful cores, making them explode, immediately doing a ton of damage. With that, we can just use it for the whole skill duration, right? Because we have so much off-field Hydro that we can just do that. The shield's going to help protect. We're not going to be taking as much self-damage from the exploding blooms. We do need to make sure, though, that we have a strong enough shield to survive some of it. As you can see, the shield isn't super strong in this instance, because the substats are not designed for that. She's also level 50. She has a low HP. You know how it works. But she can be a very effective on-field bloom driver in the Catbox Terror of Doom mode. And it's really funny to see Kirara running around doing that. Absolutely hilarious. I love it. But I have all but 100% determined that she's going to belong to Tighnari in Tighnari's team. So now that is going to be it for this video. If you have any questions, do be sure to leave it down in the comments. Myself or somebody will be sure to answer it, and I'll see you in the next one.